Hey algebra class, we are going to go ahead and get into the next section, into section 7.2 on multiplying polynomials. I am going to go ahead and tell you that there will be 2 videos for today's lesson just because we're doing a lot of different examples. It's not that there's a lot of content, it's pretty much the same throughout the whole thing, but I do want to give you plenty of examples to look at. So it is going to be over 2 different videos since I can only record in 15-minute increments. So we are going to start by multiplying polynomials today. So our first example says, what is the product? Okay, remember that product means that we are multiplying. So what is the product of negative 4x cubed and the quantity of x squared plus 3x minus 4? A lot of times you will see it written out just right next to each other. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are going to distribute this to each item. So if it helps, you can rewrite it as negative 4x cubed times x squared, and then another negative 4x cubed times 3x, and another negative 4x cubed times a negative 4. Okay, because remember, it is being distributed to each of these. All right, so this first piece, negative 4 times, remember there's a little 1 out here, even if you can't see it. So negative 4 times 1, we get negative 4. And then x cubed times x squared. Remember, when we are multiplying 2 items that have the same base, 2 terms that have the same base, okay, we're going to multiply. So we've got our x, but then our exponents get added together. So this becomes x to the 5th power. On this next piece, we have negative 4 times negative 4 times a positive 3, so it gives us negative 12. And then x cubed times x. Remember, this x just has a little 1 up here. So it actually becomes x to the 4th because we take that 3 plus that 1. Finally, we've got negative 4 times the negative 4, so we have a positive 16. And since this doesn't have any variable with it, we just bring along that x cubed. Okay, so our final answer is negative 4x to the 5th power minus 12x to the 4th power plus 16x cubed. All right, so we're going to continue with finding products similar to this. Remember, if you need to, pause the video, write down the information. You can go through it multiple times. Okay, this is helpful for you all to go through it multiple times as needed. Don't just go through it once. Make sure you're going through all of the examples, all right? So for this next example, again, this gets distributed to each term. So if you need to, you can rewrite it so that the negative 2x squared is being multiplied by each term. If you don't need to do this extra step, then you don't need to do it, but some of you, it will help you to visualize it. All right, so again, negative 2 times, this is a 1 in front, so we have negative 2. X squared times x squared, those get added together, so we get x to the 4th power. Negative 2 times 3, we get a negative 6. X squared times x to the 1st power, so 2 plus 1 gives us x cubed. And then finally, negative 2 times 4 gives us negative 8. And then we just bring along this x squared. So our final answer here is negative 2x to the 4th power minus 6x cubed minus 8x. Our next example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip this step right here. If you need to still write that out, then please do so. But some of you might not need to do that, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got negative 4x times 2x squared. So negative 4 times 2 gives me my negative 8. X times x squared gives me x cubed. Negative 4x times negative 3x. So we get -4 times -3 gives us a +12. X times x gives us x squared. And then lastly, we have -4x times 5. So -4 times 5 gives us a -20. And then we bring along that x. All right, so notice I skipped this step. If you can do that, awesome. If not, then continue to write it out. Whatever works best for you. All right, our next step that we're going to do is multiplying binomials. Remember, a binomial means that there are 2 terms. So there's 2 terms in this one and 2 terms in this one. So these are each binomials, and we are going to multiply them together. The first thing we're going to do is called the FOIL method. Some of you may have heard of this. It stands for first, outer, inner, and then last. All right, so I'm going to show you the FOIL method first. So I'm going to rewrite this here. So I've got my first, x times x. I get x squared. My outer, my 2 outer here, so x times 8. So plus 8x. Next, I've got my inner 2 right here. So 5 times x, so I get 5x. And then my last, the last in my first one and the last in my second one, so 5 times 8, which gives me 40. And then, of course, we need to combine our like terms to simplify as much as possible. So we get x squared plus 13x plus 40. Remember, just a little bit of a reference to the last video that I did. This is the highest degree here. So this is going to be a quadratic. And it is a trinomial since there are 3 terms here. All right, so I'm going to show you a second method of doing the same exact problem. So we are still doing the same problem. So we should get x squared plus 13x plus 40. Okay, so notice right here, I've got a grid. Okay, I've made a little grid here. I've got my x plus 8, and I've got my x plus 5. All we're going to do is we're going to multiply based on the grid. So in this box, notice how my x and my x line up. So I've got x times x gives me x squared. In this box right here, that's where x and 8 go together. So 8 times x gives us 8x. Right here in this box, we've got our 5 and our x. So we've got 5x. And then in our last box here, we've got our 5 and our 8. So we get 40. And then again, we can just go through. These 2 are like terms. So I'm going to combine like terms. X squared plus 13x plus 40. Notice how they are the same answers. Same answers here. Okay, so it does not matter which way you do it, whichever works best for you. All right. So for this next one, we're going to do both methods again. Okay, so let's try FOIL. So we have our first terms. Let me change colors here. All right. So our first terms, so 2x times x gives us 2x squared. Our outer terms, 2x times 3 gives us 6x. Our inner terms, 1 times x gives us just an x. And then our last terms, we get 1 times 3, so plus 3. And then we can combine our like terms right here. So we get 2x squared plus 6x. Oh, not 6x, sorry. Combine those like terms. 7x plus 3. And again, we can do our grid method as well. So we have 2x plus 1 and x plus 3. All right, so for our first box right here, we have 2x times x Okay, so 2x times x gives us 2x squared. Let's go ahead and do the 2x with the 3 here, so we get 6x. For our next one, we've got our x and our 1, so we just get x. And then we have our 3 and our 1, so we get 3. And again, we can combine our like terms. Okay, so here's our like terms, which will give us 7x. So we get 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Again, same answer. Okay, that is what we want, same answer. So whichever method works better for you is what I want you to do. I'm not requiring that you specifically do the FOIL method. I'm not telling you that you have to do the grid method, whichever you find easier for you, okay? So for this next one, I'm going to go ahead and just do the FOIL method, okay? So I am going to do 2x times 5x. So 2 times 5 gives me 10. X times x gives me x squared. My outers, so 2x times 2 gives me a 4x. Inner, 4 times 5x, so I get 20x. And then last, we have 4 times 2, which gives me 8. And then I combine like terms, getting 10x squared plus 24x plus 8 as my final answer. On this last one, let's just go ahead and do the grid method. Okay, for those of you that want to do the grid method. So I've got 7x plus 2 times 2x plus 1. So 7x times 2x, 7 times 2 gives me 14. X times x gives me x squared. My 2x times 2 gives me 4x. 7x times 1 gives me 7x. And then my 1 times 2 gives me my 2. And then I combine like terms. Oh, sorry, it's moving on me. Combine our like terms. We end with 14x squared plus 11x plus 2 as our final answer. All right, so that is multiplying binomials, so you can do either way. All right, so let's go ahead and just stop this video here, okay? And we will continue on from there in the next video.